Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Welcome back to the Get Published podcast. My name is Paul Brodie, and I am proud to serve as your host. And today we are doing a special interview with our client, Jan Koch. And Jan is the Virtual Summit Mastery Guru. He is one of the pioneers in virtual summits, which we're going to talk about soon. But he has his first book coming out. In fact, it was on a soft release recently. And now Brodie Consulting, BCG Publishing, is going to be helping him with doing a relaunch of the book, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. And Jan, welcome to the Get Published podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Jan, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Let's do it.
Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Don't be too hard on yourself. When I was writing the book, I was doing it on a pretty tight timeline. I had joined into a 7-day challenge, and that forced me to get the work done rather than making it perfect. So I would say that writing the book or speaking out the book and then getting it transcribed is quite straightforward if you have the outline. The trick is to not obsess about the editing process. So I would just get it out there. And at least if you're doing a Kindle version, what you can do is you can just upload newer versions where you improve the book month by month, week by week, whatever. But all you have to do is you have to put in the work and you have to get it done.
And I love that. And that's the thing. Done is better than perfect. As I always say, don't be afraid to take the plunge, because that's the main thing. It's just getting your story out there. Is it going to be perfect? No. But you can get out there, you can make changes, you can make adjustments. So Jan, could you tell us the name of your book? Because I purposely left it out. And also the benefit of your book. What are you trying to help people with?
Of course. So my book is the VSM Method. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it here. And it helps people run their first virtual summit. So you and I, we are both fans of hosting virtual events. And what I've done in this book is the first section outlines why you should run a virtual event and goes on the pros and cons and what you can expect to get out of being a virtual summit host. And then the second half is the proven process from Virtual Summit Mastery, walking you step by step through the action steps you need to take to host a virtual event.
Well, and one of the things I like about your book is because you have added quite a bit of new content, but tell us how you took the content that you previously had. I always refer to this as repurposing content, but you had a great framework where you were able to get this book done within a matter of days because of all the great content you already had that connected to this book.
Yeah. So the major piece of content that I had obviously is the VSM method, so the entire VSM course. And what I've done is I was sitting on this 4,000 word blog article that I wrote, but I never published it, which talked about the benefits of and reasons for hosting virtual summits. And what I did is I took that as the first part of the book, reformatted it and rewrote it slightly, because when you're writing a blog post, it's different than writing a book. And then I used a tool called conversion.ai, which is an AI-based copy creation tool, if you want, to overcome writer's block. So that was something I struggled with, especially not being a native English speaker and native writer for that matter too. Whenever I felt I was hitting a block and I didn't know how to continue with a certain section, I would go into conversion.ai and I would ask it for marketing angles. So there are various templates you can create. And I would just put in the last paragraph that I wanted to continue from and had it spit out angles that AI thought would make sense to continue with on this paragraph. And that gave me ideas how I could continue with the book. So whenever I had this mindset of, I don't know what to write about next, I took conversion.ai, and it's a super cheap tool, super affordable, used it to generate ideas. I didn't generate the book from that tool. Don't get me wrong, I didn't use AI to write the book, but I used AI to overcome writer's block and roadblocks.
I love that. In fact, I was already thinking for the hook of this, we'd talk about repurposing, but I like that you mentioned more about AI to really help you with those writer's blocks, because I think it's one of the biggest challenges we have is that, we get stuck. So tell us some of the ways that you utilize this program to really help you with getting this book finished. So when you did get blocked, what were some of the methods you used in conversion.ai to be able to help you with this?
Most importantly, there is a template or two templates that I use really. One is ideally for blog post outlines. So what you do is when you're writing like a listicle, the best 5 things to do X, Y, and Z, that is the type of content you can create with this template. And I used that whenever I had a topic that I wanted to expand on, but I didn't know what's the best angle to talk about this in the book. I put in the topic into conversion.ai, used that template, and then it generated 4 or 5 bullet points, and I picked the ones I liked. I reordered them sometimes and I rewrote them sometimes, but it sparked ideas on what type of content I would put into the book. The other one that really helped was a template called Sentence Expander, which lets you put in a sentence, I think up to 80 characters or something like that, and it turns it into a full paragraph, which again serves a very similar purpose. It helps you get ideas for what to talk about on that sentence and in that paragraph. So it just saves you time to think. If you are lazy, that is one way to describe it, is it saves you time from thinking for yourself. But then what I used it for is as inspiration, really.
Now, and is this Sentence Expander, is this a separate program or is this something with conversion.ai?
It is in conversion.ai. So you can think of it as various AI templates where you feed it with certain content and then it generates a certain formatted output. So you can generate like sentences into paragraphs, you can create blog post outlines, you can create SEO meta descriptions. They added YouTube video scripts the other day. It's really, really evolving. I think they launched in January this year, so it's quite new. But so far, I'm loving it.
Well, and I really appreciate you elaborating that, just because I want to give a little clarity to our audience, because not everyone's used to, really that level with different AI type programs. And it sounds like this is a great way to really eliminate writer's block. So
Yep.
you can take things to the next level and get the book done, because you and I have talked on multiple occasions. It's making this excuse proof. Just getting the content out. And if you have writer's block, this is the cure. And
Yep.
I think that's just a huge game changer. Well, what do you feel so far is the hardest part about getting published? And I'm not talking about with us now working together, but when you were starting, when you were doing this initial soft launch, because you had to do a lot of these pieces yourself until we started talking, and now we have the privilege to help you with your book.
Formatting was a big one because I had no idea what it takes to format for Kindle. And I wanted to, my goal was write the Kindle version in 7 days, get it out, and then the next week after publish the paperback. That never happened because I had no idea how to format for paperback, what to put on the backside of the book, how to do the spine and all that stuff. I had no idea about. So I'm super happy that I'm now working with your team, with professionals, with the proven process on getting all this stuff done properly, because it would have taken me like months to learn it. And I was also, to be honest, I was making excuses because I was afraid of testing and just getting something out there that wouldn't look good, which would hurt my brand in the end. So that is the ultimate reason why I didn't launch the paperback.
Well, and it's funny because I remember when I reviewed your book when it first came out, and I'm like, hey, when's the paperback coming out? Because with my eyes the way they are, I try not to read too many Kindles because I really have this like blue light sensitivity now, which the life of being a publisher and a summit guy, I guess. But just part of that is the fact that I really like reading paperback books. And I asked you, it's like, hey, Jan, when's the paperback coming out? And you're like, oh, I'll have it out tomorrow. And
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I'm like,
No paperback.
done? And I'm like, I think we need to talk. And that's
Yeah.
when I reached out, and you and I connected even further from there. But I'm like, yeah, I think we need to give you a little bit of help with this, because, and it's not easy. Formatting for Kindle's not bad at all, but the paperback can get really jacked up quickly, especially if you have the cover and if it's not the correct dimensions. I mean, Amazon will spit it right back out at you. And then if you're doing this yourself, it does become really intimidating.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, you know what, screw this. I got the Kindle version. And I can't tell you how many people I know that have tried to do this journey themselves where they just gave up. And then that paperback is an entire new revenue stream, especially when you're wanting to give it away potentially in person or send those paperback copies, because it's a much more powerful tool. You know, I always say Kindle's great to drive the traffic, but paperback is what closes the deals. It really is like that modern day business card that, you know, that we hear so much about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's also what I hope it to become, at least. It is a reference point to stop having redundant conversations. So as an quote unquote influencer, I get asked the same questions over and over again. And at some point, while I still enjoy talking to people, of course, it is frustrating to answer the same questions like 5 times a week. So now I can just say, when the book relaunches properly, I can just say, grab the Kindle copy, grab the paperback. It tells you all you need to know and much more.
And I love that because you can go, well, you know, I did write a book about this. Oh, you wrote a book about it? Yeah, here you go. Here's a copy, or here's a copy of the PDF, or here's the Amazon link. It's on sale for 99 cents today. You know, something like that, where it's like that website that says I can Google that for you, and it's literally like
Yeah.
that. It's like
It's more
here's
subtle
the page,
though.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little nicer. But yeah, it's funny how that connects. And our next question is typically geared towards what are you planning to do with your book launch to market it? And of course, we're working together. So we're going to be using a lot of book promos. We're going to use our 5+1 marketing approach. So, you know, we're going to get the results. But I want to ask you is when you did this initial launch, you leveraged your community. So tell us a little bit more about the community because you've already hit number one. So what we're going to do is basically just I guess the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, so to speak, because you were already able to leverage your audience to do that, to hit that number one piece within what 2 days of it coming out?
I think on the first day even, yeah. And within 24 hours after launch, yeah. So
Yeah, so tell us more about that.
yeah, my approach for this has been the same for like 2 years. Whenever I launch something, what I found people enjoy, at least in the Facebook group that I run, is they want to see behind the scenes of what I'm working on, and they want to feel involved in the process. So what I started doing, I think I took that 7-day challenge, and for the first 3 days it was head down and writing. And when it was clear that I would make it for the 7-day challenge, I started talking about it in my Facebook group. And that is when I started to spark engagement, and I started sharing that in 3 days my book has come out and I need your help because I don't have a plan for that. And I just shared the struggle of launching a book, really. We talked about it on another occasion when you were on the Build Your Audience Summit. We talked about being vulnerable. And that is what I was in the Facebook group. So I'm not portraying myself as the one expert who knows everything, because I don't. And I just asked people for support for that. And that resulted in around 40 to 50 sales in the first 24 hours, which was enough to bring me to number one in the category, and not just any category, but a relevant one. And it's also brought me into the hot releases or the best new releases or whatever Amazon calls that. And essentially the strategy is get people involved in what you are doing, share how you are doing what you're doing, why you are doing it, and ask them for help if they want to support you.
And that's exactly what happened because I'm part of that community. I'm like, oh man, he's got a book on about summits. I'm like, this is great. I just, you know, I had a couple of books out about summits. I'm like, this is great because what you do is different than what we do. And the fact is we learned a lot of our pieces through VSM. Plus, we're a done for you service on the summit side. So this is great synergy because the program that you have, it helps people if they want to learn how to do it themselves. So it was perfect for us to help you. And then with us working together, because it really has made a big difference where people that want to do it themselves, they can work with us. But if they want to learn how to do it, then great. You know, check out Jan, check out the book, check out how you connect with him afterwards, because it really is nice when you have that level of synergy. Plus, there's not many really good books about summits out there. I think there's maybe like 7 books, and me and my business partner, Ray, I think we have 4 of them. So it really is a market out there where there's a great area of opportunity in that niche.
100%. And you guys are certified by VSM too, so you have proven that you understand the process and that you deliver results. So that was the biggest reason for me to start working with you is I want to work with people who know what they're doing and who are not just all hot air and just promising the pie in the sky. I want to work with people who walk the walk, and that is what you and Ray are doing.
Well, and it comes down to core values. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about this briefly during our interview for your summit, but it's that Latin phrase, veritas et utilitas from Howard University. And it comes down to truth and service, truth and helpfulness. And when you have that servant mindset, everything else takes care of itself. I've seen
Yeah.
it happen my entire life where you have that mentality. I mean, we're talking about previously about being in Rotary. And the fact is, I'm doing all this training this week because I'm the incoming president of my club. And it's just all about serving the community and serving others. And when you do that, and when people see those core values, I mean, it completely can change your life in such a good way. It doesn't have to be about a pitch. It doesn't have to be about a script. It's just all about being real. And as you said, talking about those vulnerabilities and not being afraid to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And it is not easy. It takes courage to be vulnerable, but it also, I find it relieves a lot of pressure because you don't have to, quote unquote, fake it till you make it. You don't have to be perceived as the one person who knows it all because nobody is that. So if we are
No.
all just acting as humans, I think it just makes the connections online much more valuable.
Yeah, keeping it real. And speaking of
Yeah.
keeping it real, you and I both love to read books. I was telling you about finishing the Mamba Mentality this week with Kobe's book. And I want to ask you about your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
So the number one book I ever read is Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Let me see if I can get that. Yeah, so it's The
Perfect.
Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. And I've read that, I think, 4 or 5 times by now over the past couple of years. And the reason I did it is because it helped me uncover mindsets that I've learned from early childhood, really, that were ingrained in me due to the way my parents raised me, due to the way I was taught in school. Like, however our environment frames us and impacts us, it instills mindsets and beliefs that we are not necessarily aware of. And one thing that I was struggling with for ages is I had that mindset mentality that I had to work in order to earn the rewards. So I would always tie my revenue to the number of hours I worked. And that's obviously is one of the most stupidest things you can do as an entrepreneur because it completely works you into the ground over time. So it wasn't until I read this book that I became aware of that mindset because there is a process of how you can discover. They call it rules, so they call it BS rules really, and the vision walks you through how you can identify those rules in your own mindset, and that was when I took the next leap in mental health really.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm buying the hardcover today. As I was mentioned earlier, it's on my list. I'm going to Amazon or eBay, wherever I can grab it quickly. Because when you're telling me that's your favorite book and it's a book I've never heard of, I type that in immediately and going, yes, I am grabbing this. And just so you guys know, when I do ask this question to my audience, to my guests, I typically grab that book. And this is the first time that this book in particular has been mentioned. I'm grabbing it today because any type of books that can help you with training your mind, with your mindset, I think truly they're priceless because it
Yeah.
can really take you to the next level. And I think you really hit the nail on the head with it's about balance. That's what everything comes down to in life. Your family, your friends, your circle, but also your business. And yes, being obsessed with your business is great, but also decompressing. And we talked previously about how I exercise for 30 minutes a day on my bike and I'm reading. So I'm knocking out 10 miles reading a book. That helps me achieve balance. Meditation for 30 minutes a day when I can, that's balance. Going to my arcade upstairs and playing some of my retro games for 30 minutes. That's balance and
Yeah.
spending time with your family. And I think if you don't have that balance, then you can really never truly achieve success because it's not about the money. The money is great and it can enhance, but it's all about making a difference in the lives of others. And it's also having that right balance for you, your family, your friends. And it's a tightrope. It really is. It is a constant tightrope. Kobe was talking about that. where it's just a constant tightrope where you have to achieve that balance. And I think this exactly connects into what you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. And what I learned is if I'm not taking care of myself, I cannot take care of my family. And as you know, I have a 9-month-old daughter by now, and I got married like 2 years ago. And I have to support my family now. I'm the one who brings in the cash for us today. And that is a stressful situation. So if I'm not feeling good and if I'm not in a clear mental state to make good decisions and reasonable decisions, how am I supposed to do that? And that is why mental health, I think, is so important.
Yeah, and especially with what we've dealt with over the past year. I mean, when we filmed this, it is the actual anniversary when the US mainly shut down
Yeah.
due to the virus situation. I mean, unfortunately, I've had both vaccines. A lot of people in my circle have, so that we can get back to seeing each other again. But it really is tough. I mean, it's balance, it's mental health. I mean, quite frankly, if I wouldn't have got on that bike roughly a year ago, it was a year ago on the 29th, I may have lost my mind because I
Yeah.
needed an outlet. And if you don't have an outlet, find one and make sure it's healthy. Make sure it's not drinking. And I have shared my issues with that over the years. I mean, in April, I'm 5 years free of liquor, which I'll never touch again. But it's one of those things where it really is about achieving that balance. And if not, find a way. Meditation, exercise, playing video games, whatever that release is going to be, yeah, you have to have it. You
Yeah,
have to.
I agree.
Well, what about your favorite quote? So tell me about your all-time favorite quote and why. Why is it so important to you?
That must be one from Marcus Aurelius, and I read it to you so I don't mess it up. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. And that is emphasizing a stoic mindset that I try to employ on myself because I love how stoicism makes you present in the moment and it takes out almost any emotion out of making decisions, which I think is very important. And it's something I struggle with because I'm somebody who gets easily caught up in a rabbit hole. Like, for example, right now I'm dabbling with cryptocurrency a little bit, and I spend way too much time doing that. And that is just because emotion drives me to do certain things. So with crypto, everybody wants to get rich. That's the emotion that's driving me to spend 5 hours a day on YouTube talking or listening to people who talk about this or that or the other coin going to the moon and making like 5,000% in gains. With Stoicism, and what I admire about Marcus Aurelius is he is always so grounded, he is so at peace with himself that it seems that nothing could face him. And what I love about the meditations, and we talked off camera about what Ryan Holiday is putting out on the content. I have the Daily Stoic on that shelf behind me as well. What Stoicism taught me is that it doesn't matter how you feel about yourself as long as it doesn't impact what you are doing. So it helped me to not beat myself up when I felt like I didn't work enough on a day, or when I took a day off because I wasn't feeling well, or when I just wanted to spend time with my family, or whatever happens. I'm a person who always goes to bed and thinks I could have done more. And stoicism is one thing I always find myself coming back to. It's like when I'm too hard on myself or when I'm stressing about a certain decision I have to make. We're getting a new car right now, so that's a stressful situation to be in because it's a very sought after car. It's like a Mercedes V class, which is highly popular these days in Germany, and it's hard to find those, and that is stressing me out. But I know that by going back to stoicism, I can ground myself and I can remove some of the pressure that mostly I am imposing on myself and not my environment.
Yeah, and I think that's something I struggle with, where I think, what can I do better every day? What can I improve on constantly? And then I have to go back to, because I mean, I'm a perfectionist to this day. I am. I've gotten better with it, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I got to realize done is better than perfect. You done well. You gave it every effort, and that's my biggest thing. Did I give it everything I could that day? And 99% of the time, the answer is yes. Then I'm okay. Well, whatever else happened, we'll fix the next day. Did I knock out everything on my list today? I left one thing. Cool. We can move that tomorrow. It's a C priority anyway. But did I get all my A priorities done every day? Did I take care of my clients? Did I take care of a media appearance? Did I do this, this, and this? Yes. Okay, we're good. Did I get this roster done? No, I'll do that tomorrow. And that's really just the best way to look at this. You did the best you could with the time that you had and dealing with every possible curveball. You talk about your daughter, your wife, get in the car. I mean, these are the struggles that we have. We have other things going on where it's like, okay, I got to get this, this, and this. But you know what? Life happens. We get
Yep.
curveballs. We get
Yep.
struggles. I mean, Monday was an absolute nightmare. I had I had 6 strategy sessions, literally lined up back to back. Half of them were publishing, half were summits. I had a Chamber of Commerce Zoom thing I had to do while I was eating dinner. Then I had Rotary at night. Then I had 3 other calls. 2 were critical. I mean, you know how it goes. Your Monday just
I will be
disappears.
I will be wasted for the entire week on that schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's an intense schedule, but you know
Yeah,
what? I still made those 30 minutes to work out.
love
Still
it.
made time for family. Not as much as I should, but I did that. Now, did I get up to the arcade for half an hour? No. But you know what? We had a good day. We put the work in. And quite frankly, we closed just under 10 grand in deals that day. So it's one of those things where everything connected and not money is the brag, but just realizing revenue to enhance your lives and put
Yeah.
it into other things like building the arcade would be able to utilize these things to invest, to be able to help help things for your family, get the things they need. And it's just realizing, you know what? I did good. So, you know what? Can tomorrow be better? Absolutely. But tomorrow's not going to be as busy. So, yeah, let me get those C priorities done. It's like
Yep.
Franklin Covey. They always talk about the A, B, and C priorities. I get my A priorities done. It's a good day.
Yep, 100%. And what one last reason that I would like to touch on why I picked this quote is it says, be tolerant with others. And that is something that I think is getting lost in the culture these days. Is whenever somebody comes to you and you feel that they do you wrong, you never know what they have going on, what struggles they have, and what challenges they had to face right before they met you. So I struggle with this myself. It's like I'm easily getting frustrated with people if for whatever reason I think they're not capable with keeping up with my train of thought, and then that's my fault because I need to take a step back and I need to ensure that I've given them all the information I need. So when I'm working with my VA, for example, and she doesn't complete a job on time, it's my fault, it's not hers. And that is something that I need to remind myself of on a constant basis.
Yeah, and I can be tough on that too. I live by the adage of you had one job, so do
Yeah.
it. And most
Yeah.
of the time, my team does wonderful. But like with my transcripts, I just brought this lady on to edit all the transcripts for the Get Published Summit, and it was 12 hours of transcripts. And when we got the order done or processed, she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need 7 days." I was like, "No, we agreed on 5." And like this is what has to be done. And what happened was by end of day 5, I had 3 days worth, which was fine, but I didn't have those last 2. It took another day, and I got pretty annoyed about it. But I had to realize she's doing the best she can. She has situations. I had to put myself in her shoes. And that was one of the number one things I learned when studying psychology and sociology at UT Arlington. Because every one of my electives, a business major, but all my electives were in psychology and sociology because I wanted to learn about how other people think, what makes them tick. And I also wanted to learn about being in their shoes. And when you have that empathy, when you realize, you know what, they're not mad at you, they're just having a really bad day,
Yeah.
and just try to understand that. And with having a business partnership now in particular, it's one of those great things where you understand the other people, you understand the clients, you understand your business partner, where it's like, you know what, they may not be having a great day. I had one day that I was really short with everyone. They didn't know that morning I took my dad to get his eyes done. He was having the cataract surgery, and my car broke down on the freeway. They didn't know that my dad then freaked out, got out the car and hitchhiked to get to his location because he wouldn't wait for the Uber. So they had no idea how stressed out I was after getting the car towed, bringing it back home. And I was not nice that day. And I had to apologize. Like, listen, this is what happened. And we're like, well, Paul, we had no idea. I said, I know because I didn't tell you because I was working on these next steps. And so you really have to put yourselves in the shoes of others. And especially when you're in those shoes, when you're having that hell day and realizing, you know what, I need to either zero it down a bit more here, work out, or just stay off the phone. And
Yep.
sometimes you just have to do that because these things happen and you have to be understanding of it.
Yep. I 100% agree. And also that helps understanding how you approach your marketing and messaging and all that other stuff that generates results in business as well. All comes down to empathy.
Well, Jan, this has been a wide-ranging conversation. I know we usually do about a 10-minute show, and I think we're about at 30 minutes, but I've enjoyed every minute. And know for the record, I'm not just biased because Jan's a client. Even if he wasn't, we're having a great conversation here, so I love sharing this with our audience. But Jan, what is the best way for people to find you online? And tell us about what you offer.
So the best way to find my book online, which is everything you need to know about me, frankly, is vsmmethod.vip. That is the website for the book. If you want to learn more about virtual summits, that would be virtualsummitmastery.com.
Awesome. Well, Jan, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey and your summit journey ahead.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.